Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says that Russia's decision not to display military equipment at its parade commemorating the Soviet victory in World War II is evidence of Moscow's growing weakness against Ukraine. Now, Zelensky told a gathering of European leaders in Armenia that Russia fears Ukrainian drone attacks at the annual event on May 9th. This is coming after a Ukrainian drone struck an apartment building in central Moscow. Now, this is home to many of Russia's elite. No one was injured, but it was the third night in a row that Ukrainian drones struck targets in the Russian capital. Zelensky urged the leaders in Yerevan to keep up pressure on Russia to end its war against his country. And let's get more. We are joined now by Sergei Sananovsky. He joins us from Riga since DW is banned from reporting in Russia. So, Sergei, today's strike hit a high rise just 6 kilometers from the Kremlin. What's the reaction to that strike?
Well, indeed, as you said, it's actually for the first time in months a drone has been spotted that close to the Kremlin, to the city of Vladimir Putin. And the mayor of Moscow said Russia's defense systems actually intercepted 2 drones in total heading toward the Russian capital overnight, and no casualties were reported. But more broadly, Ukrainian drones are now frequently actually entering the Russian airspace, and just recently Ukraine managed to strike targets in the Ural region, which is thousands of kilometers away from the front line. And in the Krasnodar region, drone strikes hit the oil infrastructure and it triggered a huge environmental disaster. So Russia is calling those attacks terrorist attacks, but can't actually do much to prevent it.
And we understand that the Russian Victory Day parade is only just days away, and it has already been scaled back due to drone threats. Tell us a little bit more about that and whether or not Moscow's air defenses are being seen as failing.
Yeah, it really looks like Russia is struggling to secure its airspace against Ukrainian drones. As you mentioned, the military parade on May the 9th will be held in a very reduced way. No heavy military equipment will be on display. So Kyiv somehow appears to have identified some weak points in Russia's air defense system, which is failing to intercept these drones. And even in Russian state media, some military officials, some generals have acknowledged that countering those drones is a very complex task for Russia's air defense system. And what the Kremlin is actually trying to do now to try to minimize the damage of those drone attacks is shutting down mobile internet. And Vladimir Putin is saying that this is needed for security reasons, but actually a lot of Russians are unhappy with those shutdowns as well as with a lot of other internet restrictions.
What do you think that means for Putin? Because as you've highlighted there, Kyiv has, they've stepped up the strikes on oil refineries, ports, depots. Where does Putin's approval now stand among the Russian public?
Well, that's a good question, because in recent weeks, Vladimir Putin's approval rating dropped by around 10%, around 10 percentage points. Well, at around 65%, that would still be very solid for any European leader. But analysts are focusing on this downward trend. And what stands out here is that this is the first serious dip in Vladimir Putin's approval ratings during this more than actually four years of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine. And people are increasingly frustrated. You can see it over higher taxes, over tight internet controls and the effects of isolation. It's not an existential threat, of course, for a political regime like Russia's, but it's still very uncomfortable, and especially with a parliamentary election that is coming up this fall. And typically, in the run-up to such a vote, the Kremlin looks to try to boost those numbers, to try to boost Vladimir Putin's approval rating.
And Zelensky, we understand, has been speaking about all of this. He said the following. I'd like to read this quote. He said, "This summer will be a moment when the Russian president decides what to do next, expand the war or move toward diplomacy, and we must push him toward diplomacy." What's the latest on that front?
Well, the Russian administration, the Kremlin, doesn't seem to be that it's going to be pushed into diplomacy. They, at least publicly, they're all saying that they're very satisfied with the situation on the battlefield, that they are advancing, and there is no actual real progress on right now on setting up further talks between Russia and Ukraine, including because the US figures who used to be involved in facilitating those talks between Russia and Ukraine, Jared Kushner, Steve Witkoff, they are now largely focused on the Iran war, on the talks with Iran, between the US and Iran, and judging by statements from Moscow and Kiev, they're essentially waiting for Washington to re-engage, and without that, there is little sign the process will be moving forward anytime soon. So, in this sense, those talks between Russia and Ukraine seem to be deadlocked.
DW correspondent Sergei Stanonovsky, thank you.